The crowd inside the battle dome roared with laughter. A human bruised, limping, and barely holding his weapon stood in the center of the red sand arena. His arm hung broken at his side. His ribs were wrapped in blood-soaked cloth. His armor was scratched and rusted. The crowd didn't cheer for him. They laughed. They mocked. To send a half-dead human into the trials, someone shouted, must be a joke. Even the highborn aliens in the upper balconies were smiling, sipping glowing drinks and watching with gleaming eyes. They came for entertainment. And the human's death was already expected. At the other end of the arena stood a massive alien warrior, a brute covered in dark armor and spiked gauntlets. The beast was 3 meters tall and twice as wide. He snarled, raising a serrated blade into the air, roaring toward the sky. The match hadn't started yet, but the outcome was already decided in everyone's mind. The human would fall in the first minute. It would be short, messy, and forgettable. Except for one pair of eyes. In the viewing chamber sat a young alien girl. Beautiful, with glowing green skin, long golden hair tied behind her, and strange silver cuffs around her wrists. She was not a guest. She was a prize. The warlord beside her leaned back and grinned. If the human wins, she's his. I made the offer myself. The girl flinched. Her voice was quiet but strong. You think I'm a trophy, he laughed. You are. But no need to worry, girl. That human won't last a breath. The battle. Horn echoed across the dome. The crowd stood. The human didn't move. His name was Ryder. He had no backup, no team, no home planet that claimed him. He had been captured weeks ago after his escape pod crashed on the outer moons. Now he was here, bleeding, tired, and forced into the arena as a joke. He watched the brute charge forward, footsteps shaking the ground. Ryder didn't lift his sword. Stepped to the side just once, and the brute's blade slammed into the sand. The crowd went silent for a second, surprised. Then Ryder struck. It wasn't strong. It wasn't clean, but it was smart. He hit the brute's leg right behind the knee. The brute stumbled and turned with a roar. Ryder rolled away. The crowd began to whisper. The brute charged again, faster this time. Ryder jumped to the side and slashed upward, cutting the beast's arm. Not deep, but enough to sting. The brute roared in rage and began swinging wildly. Ryder ducked, dodged, rolled again. He was slow but smart. He wasn't fighting to overpower. He was fighting to outlast. Blood poured from his shoulder, but he kept moving. The girl in the viewing chamber leaned forward now. She was no longer afraid. She was watching something rare. Something real. The warlord next to her frowned. Why isn't he dead yet? The brute finally caught Ryder with a hard punch to the chest. Ryder flew back and hit the wall with a sickening crack. The crowd gasped. Some laughed again. It looked over, but Ryder pulled himself up. He coughed blood, wiped his mouth, and stood again. The brute blinked. Ryder ran, not away from behind the brute. He jumped, grabbing the beast's back, driving his broken blade into the neck joint behind the armor. The blade cracked. The brute screamed, flailing. Ryder didn't let go. He wrapped his legs around the brute's waist and drove the broken half of the blade deeper. The brute collapsed. Dead. The dome was silent. Then chaos. Half the crowd screamed in disbelief. Some cheered. Others threw their drinks. And up in the viewing box, the warlord stood, eyes wide. That's not possible. The girl beside him whispered, You made a promise. Ryder dropped to the sand, chest rising and falling. Guards entered the ring. One of them shouted into the speaker system, By the rules of the trial, the girl belongs to the victor. Ryder lifted his head. His vision blurred, but he saw her, the girl, not smiling. Not afraid, just standing. Waiting. He passed out before he could reach her. but even as darkness took him, one thing was clear: no one was laughing now. Raider woke to pain. Everything hurt. His chest burned, his shoulder was swollen, and his ribs screamed every time he breathed. But he was alive. That alone was surprising. He blinked, trying to make sense of his surroundings. The lights above were dim, flickering. He lay on a cold metal slab inside a small medical bay, basic and outdated, but clean. Machines beeped quietly beside him. His armor was gone, and someone had wrapped his wounds. Not a professional job, but careful and gentle. He tried to sit up and failed. Soft voice spoke from the corner. "You should rest. You lost a lot of blood." He turned his head slowly. The alien girl sat on a small bench near the wall, her long golden hair draped over her shoulder. She was no longer chained. Her silver cuffs were gone. She wore a simple robe, and her posture was relaxed, but alert. "You're her," Ryder said, his voice dry. She nodded. "I'm the one they wagered," he coughed. "Didn't expect to win." She stood and poured him a small cup of blue water from the dispenser. "You did, against all odds." Ryder sipped the water, eyes never leaving her. "Why are you here?" "I belong to you now," she said flatly. "No," Ryder said at once. "That's not how I work." She looked at him, puzzled. "You won me." "It was part of the deal." Ryder shook his head. "Deals made by cowards mean nothing. You're free." She walked closer, curious. "Then why did you fight?" Ryder looked up at the ceiling. "Because I was tired of being someone else's joke." She stared at him for a while before sitting beside the bed. "They call me Leari," she said. "I was taken from my homeworld when I was 12, sold 3 times. I've spent most of my life sitting next to men who thought I was a decoration." "I'm sorry," Ryder said softly. She smiled a little. "You're the first to ever say that." He tried again to sit, and this time managed to get upright. Pain danced through his body, but he didn't fall. "Where are we?" he asked. "In a private wing of the warlord's fortress," she replied. "After your victory, they didn't know what to do with you. So they put you here, quietly, but something changed." "What?" "The people," she said. "They saw what you did, they're talking." The crowd's mood shifted. They didn't think humans could survive a death trial. Now they're unsure of everything. Ryder chuckled weakly. "I'm just a man who refused to die." "That may be more dangerous than you think," she warned. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Leari stood quickly and moved near the door, listening. Ryder grabbed a metal brace from the side of the bed and pulled it off. Ready to swing it if needed. The door opened. A guard stepped in, a reptilian alien with a deep scar across his chin. He looked at Ryder, then Leari. "You're ordered to leave," the guard said. "The human must face the warlord." Ryder coughed. "Can I walk?" The guard grinned. "Doesn't matter." 2 more guards entered, grabbing Ryder by the arms and hauling him out of bed. He groaned but didn't complain. Leari followed, eyes burning. They led Ryder through steel corridors lit by red lamps. The walls pulsed with heat. Strange symbols were etched into the floors, marking old battle glories and victories. Finally, they reached a wide door. It slid open. Inside was the warlord, massive, armored, and angry. He turned as they entered, his gold cloak dragging behind him. "You embarrassed me," he growled. "You were supposed to die." Ryder stood as straight as he could. "Then you should have picked someone stronger." The warlord snarled. "I gave you a reward. Now I take it back." "No," Leari said sharply. "You made a vow witnessed by hundreds." "She belongs with me," the warlord barked. "She belongs to herself," Ryder said. "She chose to follow me, not because of a bet." The warlord stepped forward, towering over Ryder. "You're weak. You'll die soon anyway." Ryder grinned, despite the pain. "Then make your move." The warlord raised his arm, then paused. Behind him, a small screen flashed. Reports flooded in. Protests. Workers refusing to fight. Traders threatening to pull out of business. Deals. Because of the human. Because of Liari's courage. Because something had changed. Ryder had started a fire. Without knowing. The warlord's eyes narrowed. You'll both regret this. Ryder leaned closer. Only if you survive long enough. The guards pulled him away again, but this time, the warlord didn't smile. Liari followed without looking back. They had crossed a line, and war was coming. They were thrown into a holding room beneath the fortress stone walls, no windows, one flickering light above. The guards didn't speak. They simply shoved Ryder in and slammed the door shut behind Liari. Ryder leaned against the cold wall, breathing hard. His side ached with every breath. He could still feel the warlord's hate in the air. They're going to kill you, Liari whispered. He didn't say it, but he wants to erase you quietly. To take me back. Ryder didn't look surprised. I figured. Why didn't you just give me up? She asked. It would have saved your life. Because I gave my word, replied. Even if it was in the middle of a blood-soaked arena, I said I'd protect you. Liari sat down beside him. That word may cost everything. Then it's still worth more than what they offered me in chains. They were quiet for a long moment, then footsteps again, soft, careful ones. Not armored boots this time. A secret. Door clicked open near the back wall. A hooded figure slipped inside quickly, eyes scanning the room. It was an older alien woman, her robes faded but her presence sharp. Come with me, she said. Ryder hesitated. Liari stood quickly. This is Celine. She used to be royal advisor on my world. Before we were overthrown, she helped me once. Celine nodded. And now I help you again. You stirred something, human. The people whisper. The guards doubt. The warlord is weaker than he looks. Ryder struggled to stand. Then let's not waste time. Celine led them through the narrow tunnel, twisting under the fortress. The smell of oil and damp metal filled the air. They passed old cells, long abandoned, and even deeper ruins from wars that happened centuries before. We'll reach the outer gate soon, Celine said. But listen, there's a resistance forming. They want to meet the human who defeated Gorax. I didn't do it to start a revolution, Ryder muttered. No, Liari said. But you gave them hope without trying. That hope was dangerous. As they neared the exit hatch, a loud alarm echoed from above. The escape had been noticed. Run, Celine said. Ryder and Liari bolted through the gate and into the night desert. Behind them, the lights of the fortress glowed red. Sirens wailed. Search drones flew overhead. They reached a rocky ridge and ducked behind boulders. Ryder's legs shook, his wounds screaming. Liari helped him sit, then checked their direction with an old tracker. There's an outpost, she said. Not far, used by smugglers. They won't ask questions. Ryder smiled faintly. My kind of people. They moved again, slow, careful. The stars were sharp above them. No sound but their breaths and the distant hum of patrol ships. They finally reached the outpost. It was hidden in a canyon, metal doors built into the rock. A scanner eyed them, then slid open. Inside was a world of rust and smoke. Aliens of all shapes worked on engines, traded weapons, and spoke in quiet tones. A tall man with one robotic arm stepped forward. You look like trouble, Ryder smirked. I'm worse, Liari stepped forward. We need passage. And quiet. The man studied her face, then looked at Ryder. You're the one from the arena, the fighter who wouldn't die. I guess word spreads fast, Ryder said. The man chuckled. Faster than plasma fire. All right, we'll give you shelter. But someone will come looking. Ryder nodded. Let them. I'm done hiding. That night, Inside a dim cabin carved into stone, Ryder rested while Liari sat beside him. She looked at him for a long time before speaking. "You don't act like anyone I've ever met." "That's good," he said quietly. "You could have used me to survive. Many would have, but you didn't." "I didn't win you," he said. "You just decided to stay." She smiled softly. "And I will. Not because I must, but because I want to." They didn't speak again after that. They didn't need to, but outside the warlord's fury had grown. He had sent his top hunters. The price on Ryder's head. They had escaped the walls. But the real battle was coming next. The smuggler outpost was quiet just before dawn. The sky above was turning from deep black to a dusty gray. Ryder stood near the edge of the ridge, watching the stars fade. His shoulder still throbbed, but the pain reminded him he was alive. Behind him, Liari approached, carrying a warm drink made from local herbs. "You didn't sleep." "Didn't want to," Ryder said. "Dreams aren't better than what's out here." She handed him the cup. "The scouts reported something. There's movement in the canyons. Small team, silent, fast." Ryder nodded. "Hunters," she nodded back. "The best ones. Sent by the warlord. Their job is simple: capture you, return me." "Alive?" he asked. "They don't care." Inside the outpost, the smugglers prepared to leave. Many didn't want to get caught between a warlord's wrath and a human with a bounty. The place felt thinner, emptier. Kale, the man with the robotic arm, stood by the main gate. "I like you, human, but we don't take sides, we survive." Ryder understood. "Thanks for the rest." "Be gone before sundown," Kale said. "Because they'll come through that door." Ryder and Liari packed quickly small supplies, water, weapons. Ryder found an old pulse rifle with a half-charged core. "It would be enough. We move north," Ryder said. "Through the high rocks. Easier to defend, harder to follow." They left quietly, slipping into the canyons, walking fast but careful. Every noise echoed. Every shadow felt like a threat. Hours passed. Then it happened. A sharp click. A burst of sound. A flash of light. The trap hit first a net shot from above. Ryder dodged, barely avoiding it. Liari rolled down the slope, landing hard but unhurt. 3 hunters emerged, dressed in black gear, their eyes hidden behind masks. Silent, perfect, deadly. Ryder raised the rifle and fired once. The bolt missed, but hit a rock, blinding them with dust. He pulled Liari to her feet. "Run!" They dashed into a narrow crack in the rocks. Blasts hit behind them. Sparks flew. One hunter followed too close. Ryder turned, fired again. This time, the shot hit. The hunter dropped, but the others were faster. One leapt from the cliff above, landing behind Liari. She spun and struck with the blade, catching his side. He grabbed her wrist. She screamed. Ryder tackled him from behind, slamming him into the stone. The last hunter backed off slowly. He didn't fire. He looked at them, and for a moment, his head tilted. Then he spoke calm, quiet, cold. "You should have stayed hidden, human. She was never yours." "She was never anyone's," Ryder snapped. "She's a symbol," the hunter said, "of rebellion. That makes her dangerous." He raised his gun, but Liari stepped forward. "I am dangerous," she said, "because I remember who I am." Her hand glowed. The hunter paused. Her markings lit up along her arms, pulsing softly. "You're royal," the hunter whispered. "And I will not return in chains," she said. The hesitation caused him. Ryder fired. The hunter fell. Blood stained the canyon. Silence followed. Ryder dropped to one knee, gasping. Liari crouched beside him, checking his wounds. "You're hit," she said. "Just a scratch." He lied. "You keep lying," she said gently. He smiled. It helps me keep going. They rested inside a rock chamber, hidden by vines. Liari pressed cloth to Ryder's arm. You're more than a fighter, she whispered. You give people hope, even me. I'm just a man who got lucky, Ryder said. No, she said. You chose the harder path. You could have used me to escape, but you chose to protect. Ryder looked into her glowing eyes. And I still will, she touched his cheek. Then we must stop running. We can't face them all, he said. But if we take the fight to the warlord, she paused, maybe others will rise. He breathed slowly. That's a big maybe. It's better than being hunted forever. Ryder sat up straighter. Then we hit him, not with numbers, with truth. Liari nodded. We tell everyone what he really is. We show them what he fears a human who wouldn't die and a slave girl who won't kneel. Outside the wind blew hard, but now they had a direction, not just escape, revenge. They reached the village by nightfall small, hidden in the canyon walls, built from stone and scraps. The people there were quiet, tired, and scared. Most were former slaves, deserters, or forgotten ones who had escaped the warlord's reach. As Ryder and Liari entered, whispers spread. That's him. The human, the one who lived, and her, the glowing girl. The stolen heir? Children peeked out from behind rusted doors. Elders stared with hollow eyes. No one approached at first until an old woman stepped forward, holding a staff carved from bone. You carry danger, she said. But also truth. Liari lowered her hood. Her golden hair caught the firelight and her skin markings pulsed gently. We don't want to bring harm. But the warlord will hunt you. As he hunts us. The old woman nodded. Then speak. Let us hear what kind of danger we risk dying for. That night, the villagers gathered near a low fire pit. Ryder stood before them, wrapped in a dusty cloak, arm still bleeding under the cloth. He didn't speak like a leader. He didn't raise his voice. But he told the truth. He told them how the warlord made slaves fight for entertainment. How he wagered lives like coins. How Liari was treated like a prize instead of a person. And how he, an unwanted, half-dead human, was thrown into a ring to die. And walked out with his life. The people listened, not because he was strong, but because he was real. Then Liari spoke. She didn't shout either. Her words were calm. But they burned like fire. I was born to a family that once ruled with honor. That honor was stolen. The warlord took our people and crushed them. But I lived, and I remember. If we do nothing, his shadow will grow. A silence followed. Then a young man stepped forward. If we stand, he will burn us. Ryder answered, He already burns you. He just does it slower. Another voice. We don't have weapons. You don't need many, Liari said. Just truth. If you tell others, show others. The warlord can't silence everyone. The old woman looked at Ryder with sharp eyes. You came here not just to hide, but to spark a fire. No, Ryder said, to give you the match. The villagers murmured, some still afraid. Others, beginning to wonder. By morning, a signal was sent, a message hidden in trade routes, smuggled through cargo, passed from voice to voice. The human lives, the girl glows, the warlord fears them. Over the next days, small groups arrived, quiet rebels, silent messengers, broken warriors who hadn't forgotten how to fight. They came to see Ryder. They came to see Liari. And most of all, they came with hope. Ryder helped train them, even through his pain. He taught how to move fast, how to strike smart. He showed them how to fight like a human, dirty, clever, and without mercy. Liari spoke with the leaders, helped organize safe paths and hidden codes. She was no longer just a girl in chains. She was the heart of something bigger now. One night, As they sat together watching the stars, Ryder finally spoke the question on his mind. Why do you really stay? Liari looked at him. Because you never asked me to. He nodded, then laughed softly. Strange how far we've come. From a blood pit to this, she smiled. Not strange, just right. But peace didn't last. One evening, a young boy ran into the camp, breathless. A ship descending from the east, marked with the warlord's seal. Ryder stood. It's him? He's coming here? Liari asked, surprised. He's trying to scare us, Ryder said. Show that we're not safe. Then we make a choice, she said. Do we run again? He looked at her. No. We make our stand. That night, the fires burned brighter than ever before, and all through the village, one name passed from mouth to mouth. Not Ryder, not Liari, but Hope. Asterisk the warlord's ship landed like a hammer. Dust flew. Wind screamed. The rocky cliffs around the village shook as the metal beast touched down in the canyon. It was black, wide, and heavy with weapons. Its engines didn't shut off. It hovered low, ready to flee or destroy. Everyone in the village stopped moving. Eyes watched from door cracks and rooftops. Children were hidden. Fighters gripped old rifles and makeshift spears. Ryder stood in the center of the village facing the ship. His arm was bandaged, his weapon strapped to his back. He didn't flinch. Beside him, Liari stood tall in her robes, glowing markings alive with light. She held no weapon, but her presence was stronger than armor. The warlord's ramp opened. Guards stepped out tall, silent, covered in plated armor. Then came the warlord himself, wrapped in gold and bone. He wore a skull over one shoulder and a black crown twisted with wire. His eyes were cold, his smile cruel. He stepped forward slowly. So, this is where the legend hides. Ryder didn't answer. The warlord looked at the people watching from behind walls. I expected rebels. What I see are farmers with fear in their eyes. Liari stepped forward. They're not afraid of you. Not anymore. The warlord laughed. Because of you? Because of the wounded human who barely stood after one fight. He turned to Ryder. You embarrassed me once, but this is the end. Ryder replied quietly. You're right. It is. The warlord raised his hand. Surrender now, and I'll leave this place standing. Resist, and I'll burn it with your bones. Ryder looked at Liari, then at the villagers gathering behind them. He said only one word. No. The warlord's face tightened. Then bleed. He snapped his fingers. Shots fired. But the villagers were ready. Hidden turrets rose from the rock's old tech, wired by smuggler hands. Blasts tore into the warlord's guards. Smoke filled the air. Ryder dove, pulling his rifle, firing with precision. One guard fell. Then another. The warlord's ship opened fire on the cliffs, but the rebels had already moved. From every side, fighters poured in, those trained by Ryder, led by Liari's signal. They moved fast. They hit hard. The warlord's forces didn't expect it. Liari ran to the ridge, waving others forward. Push them back. Ryder climbed onto a broken transport frame, shooting down from above. A shot grazed his side, but he didn't stop. In the middle of the chaos, the warlord stepped forward again, energy blade crackling in hand. He walked through the fire toward Ryder. Ryder dropped from his perch, landing hard in the dirt. The two men faced each other. You think this will change the system? The warlord growled. You think one fight will free her? I don't need to change the system, Ryder said. I just need to end you. The warlord struck, first blade slicing the air. Ryder ducked, barely missing it, then kicked the warlord back. They clashed again. Sparks flew. Ryder blocked, dodged, then slammed his rifle into the warlord's mask, cracking it. The warlord roared and stabbed forward, piercing Ryder's side. Ryder cried out but grabbed the blade, yanking it deeper. He pulled the warlord in close and headbutted him, then drove a knife into the warlord's leg. They fell together, fists, elbows, pain. But Ryder didn't stop. He remembered the laughter. He remembered the cage. And most of all, he remembered Liari, watching from the balcony, thinking she was nothing but a prize. He roared and slammed the warlord down, grabbing the broken blade and pressing it against his throat. "Call them off," Ryder growled. The warlord spat blood. "You'll never win, then we'll both die here." But before Ryder could finish it, Liari appeared beside them, her hand on Ryder's shoulder. "Not like this," she said softly. "Let the people see." Ryder hesitated, then stood. He pulled the warlord up and threw him toward the center of the village. Rebels dragged the remaining guards forward. The people circled in silence. Liari raised her voice. "This is the one who ruled you with fear, who bought lives with blood, who thought none of you mattered." She turned to Ryder. "And this is the one they laughed at." Now no one was laughing. The warlord's ship was seized, the weapons were taken, and the man who once called Liari a prize now knelt in chains. The fires had gone out by morning. Smoke drifted lazily over the canyon, and the warlord's black ship now sat empty, stripped of weapons and power. His guards were locked in the old storage chamber beneath the village. The warlord himself, once feared across 6 systems, was bound by his own energy cuffs, kneeling before the people he had ruled with terror. Ryder stood nearby, one hand pressed to his side, still bandaged. The fight had cost him more than blood. His arm wouldn't lift properly. His ribs were cracked again. But he stood. Beside him was Liari, no longer wearing robes to hide. She had changed into clean clothing, simple but elegant, and she stood tall with her golden hair braided behind her. Her glowing skin markings now shimmered openly in the sun. The old woman from the village approached, leaning on her staff. "You brought change," she said quietly. "You broke a chain we thought was unbreakable." "I didn't do it alone," Ryder said. Liari looked at him. "You never asked for anything in return. Not when you won. Not when you saved me. Why?" Ryder was quiet for a moment. "Because I know what it's like to be nothing. I won't be the reason someone stays there." She nodded slowly. The people gathered in the open square. They wanted a trial, but no one spoke for the warlord. He had ruled by fear, not loyalty. When they asked who would decide his fate, Liari stepped forward. "He will be judged," she said, "but not with death. Let him live and see what he created fall apart." There were murmurs. Some wanted blood, but Ryder stepped beside her. "She's right. If we kill him now, he becomes a martyr. If we strip him of power and show the galaxy who he truly was, he becomes something worse. A memory," Liari added. "A warning." So the warlord was locked in his own ship, his empire, which stretched across trade routes and slavery. Rings began to crumble. His name was spread not with fear, but with shame. And the girl he once tried to sell became the one who led his downfall. Weeks passed. The village became a beacon. Others came, refugees, old allies, even former soldiers who had once served the warlord but now wanted peace. They didn't follow Ryder because he was strong. They followed him because he had stood up. When everyone laughed, he had protected someone with no power and never asked to be king. One evening, after everything had begun to settle, Ryder sat at the edge of the canyon wall, looking at the stars. Liari joined him, carrying 2 warm drinks. "You ever think it would end like this?" she asked. "No," he said. "I thought I'd die in that arena, and instead, you won me." He turned to her. "I didn't win you. You chose to stay." She smiled. "Still do." She sat beside him, quiet for a moment. Then her hand found his. "You changed everything," she said. "No," he replied. "We did." She looked at him carefully. "So what now?" He looked at the stars. "We build something better. Something no one laughs at. Something that lasts." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "Together?" He smiled. "Always." Down. Below, the village lights flickered warmly. Children laughed. Old weapons were melted down and reforged into tools. People had begun planting again, singing again, living again, and at the center of it all, the human who refused to die and the girl who refused to bow stood not as rulers, but as reminders that courage can come from weakness, that laughter can turn into silence, and that sometimes the smallest act of defiance can shake an empire. Asterisk.